ability.
Here is boxing.
What's been the best part about training with Mike Tyson?
That's to touch him up, but nothing really got through.
Tab 1, Floyd Mayweather vs. Mike Tyson, full fight, highlights, knockout. 2025, Floyd Mayweather vs. Mike Tyson, the fight the world never thought would happen. But on October 2nd, 2025, it did, and it shook the planet. Two living legends, one undefeated tactician, one relentless beast, colliding under the bright lights of Las Vegas in a spectacle that redefined boxing itself. What followed was pure chaos, emotion, and history, with a knockout that no one will ever forget.
Folks, this thing has been signed. It's not one of those things that may or may not happen.
October 2nd, 2025, the night the boxing world stopped breathing. Two men who defined different eras, different styles, and different philosophies finally stood under the same lights. Floyd Mayweather, 48 years old, the undefeated genius who built his empire on precision and patience. And across from him, Mike Tyson, 59, the ferocious embodiment of chaos, fear, and power. This wasn't just another boxing match. It felt like a war between time and memory, between control and destruction. More than 150 million people across the world tuned in. The numbers shattered every record in combat sports history. Higher than Mayweather versus McGregor, bigger than Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson.
The announcement itself felt unreal. A 59-year-old Tyson stepping back into the ring against Mayweather, the undefeated tactician who'd never tasted defeat. Critics lost their minds. They said it was reckless, that it risked tarnishing legacies. But promoters knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't a sport anymore. This was mythology in motion. They called it the Battle of Immortals, and every ticket sold proved the world wanted to see it. Then came the training footage, and that changed everything. Tyson's clips went viral overnight. The old roar in his punches was back. The speed, the body torque, the snarl, like the Tyson from 1988 had somehow stepped out of history. His combinations on the heavy bag hit with the sound of thunder. Millions commented the same line. He still has it.
And the only thing I have to say about Mike Tyson is...
Meanwhile, Mayweather stayed silent. Focused, mechanical, efficient. His camp released just seconds of training footage, carefully edited, like chess moves before the match. No words, no bravado, just him shadowboxing, still fast, still sharp. The message was clear. He didn't need to talk to prove he was still the smartest man in the ring.
And then it went insanely crazy because obviously we see the YouTube fights. And
as the days moved closer to October 2nd, hype turned into obsession. Every sports show dissected the matchup. Could Tyson land one clean shot? Could Mayweather survive that kind of power at his age? The debates were endless, but everyone agreed on one thing. This was the fight that no one asked for, but everyone needed to see. Vegas turned into a madhouse that week. The T-Mobile Arena became the center of the universe. Celebrities, former champions, billionaires, everyone wanted a seat. Ticket resale prices went insane, some touching six figures for ringside spots. Hotels ran out of rooms. The entire strip lit up like a shrine to two living legends.
we were probably at the limit of what could be done in boxing. That's ridiculous. I swear I thought a guy that fights and walks into a ring at over 200 pounds, fighting a guy that walks into the ring at 144 pounds, was the limit of the ridiculousness that we could get to in boxing.
And when that first bell rang, the energy shifted completely. Tyson didn't walk, he charged. Mayweather didn't run, he calculated. It wasn't just a fight. It was a storm of history, power, and ego meeting in one ring. Because on October 2nd, 2025, boxing didn't just host a match, it hosted a resurrection.
Introducing the former lineal heavyweight champion and the former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. He was, he is, and he will forever be the baddest man on this planet. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Iron Mike Tyson.
1 The moment fight night arrived, the energy in Las Vegas was unreal. The T-Mobile Arena wasn't just sold out, it was overloaded with electricity. Tickets vanished in minutes, and the $10,000 ringside seats? People were reselling them for six figures. That's how insane the hype was. Outside the arena, you could hear fans chanting Tyson's name, waving banners, betting like their life savings depended on it. Inside, the air felt thick, a mix of sweat, adrenaline, and pure disbelief that this was actually happening. Every major celebrity you could think of was there. Hollywood stars, retired boxers, rappers, even a few billionaires pretending they knew boxing stats. The cameras kept cutting to famous faces, all wide-eyed, waiting for that first bell. This wasn't just a fight, it was an event, a generational reunion of people who'd grown up worshipping these two names. Mayweather versus Tyson, it sounded impossible, yet there they were, just minutes away from rewriting history.
Tyson's 58 years old.
Then the lights dimmed, the crowd fell silent for a second, and that's when Mike Tyson made his entrance. No flashy intro, no dancers, no entourage. Just the man himself walking slowly toward the ring in those classic black trunks and boots. It was eerie in the best way possible. The crowd erupted the moment he appeared, and you could feel that old Tyson energy, that raw, terrifying, unstoppable vibe that made him a legend. He didn't wave, didn't smile, didn't even look around, just walked with that dead serious expression, like a man who'd come to collect a debt that was 20 years overdue.
Absolutely bombs. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen here, but it's clear why it's happening. The success of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, honestly, maybe the success of Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul.
A few minutes later, the atmosphere flipped completely. Floyd Mayweather began his walkout. Golden robe, calm grin, surrounded by his crew, the picture of confidence. His music hit, the lights turned gold, and he looked like royalty walking into his own palace. The difference between the two couldn't have been more dramatic. Tyson looked like war, Mayweather looked like wealth. The crowd was divided, half chanting Iron Mike, the other half shouting Money Team. It felt like two religions colliding in the same temple.
Commands at all times. Most importantly, protect yourself at all times.
When both men finally stood face to face in the ring, time stopped. Tyson glared at Floyd with that predatory stillness. Floyd just smirked, cool as ever. The referee gave his instructions, but honestly, no one was listening. Cameras zoomed in, flashes went off, and for a brief moment, even the ref looked nervous. That's how heavy the tension was. Everyone knew, one wrong move, one mistimed jab, and this fight could flip the world upside down. Then came the bell. Round 1. Tyson came out like a storm. No feeling out process, no slow start, just raw aggression. His punches sounded like gunfire echoing off the ropes. You could see Mayweather doing his signature shoulder roll, blocking, moving, analyzing, but Tyson wasn't letting him breathe. Every body shot had weight. Every swing carried 30 years of pent-up hunger. Mayweather smirked between dodges like he was saying, "I've been here before." But this wasn't like anything he'd faced before. By round 2, the rhythm was set. Tyson was the predator, Mayweather the escape artist. Floyd's defense was slick, his timing sharp, but Tyson's pressure was relentless. One body hook landed so hard the crowd gasped in unison. You could almost hear Mayweather's ribs groan under the force.
So if you can keep fighting fucking 50-something-year-olds
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
and making a living at it, I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody.
Then round 3 and 4, that's when the momentum started to swing. Mayweather found his timing. He began slicing Tyson with lightning-fast jabs, peppering him with counterhooks. Classic Mayweather. Calm, surgical, turning chaos into calculation. But Tyson wasn't fading. Midway through the 4th, he slipped inside Floyd's jab and delivered a short left hook right to the chin. For a split second, Mayweather's legs stiffened. The crowd exploded. Tyson stepped forward, eyes wide, sensing blood.
Favorite will come out real fast, but Tyson has been a very determined fighter and part of his career, and he does look like he's on the assault early to me. Mike has something that he wants to show here. This is exactly what I expected from him. They said he wasn't aggressive enough against Buster Douglas. He's aggressive right now. He's just powering and pushing Henry Tillman around right now.
Round 5 was all Mayweather. Textbook footwork, combinations, accuracy. He danced around Tyson, landing shots, staying just out of range. Commentators started saying Mayweather's found his groove. But Tyson wasn't reading the same script. In round 6, he trapped Floyd on the ropes, and that's when things got ugly. Tyson unloaded a barrage of uppercuts and hooks, classic vintage Iron Mike. One uppercut snapped Floyd's head back. Another slammed into his guard so hard you could see the pain flash across his face. The arena went wild. People were on their feet screaming like they were watching the 1990s Tyson again.
Bank robbery style from some of these companies, and now Mike Tyson's apparently on board. And
round 7 turned into pure grit. Both men were tired, sweating, bruised. Tyson's pace slowed a little, but his eyes never did. Mayweather, to his credit, kept landing those clean, sneaky counters, shots that would have dropped anyone else. But Tyson just kept walking him down. Every second felt heavier, every exchange more desperate. Then came round 8, the final act. Both men breathing hard, the crowd chanting like mad. Tyson's corner yelled, "Finish it!" Floyd tried to stick and move, but his legs weren't as fast now. Tyson stepped forward, feinted a right. Mayweather bit. And in that split second, Tyson launched a left uppercut from hell. Boom.
Mike Tyson, people talk to. There's certain people that are just crazy, man.
Well, these people that think that he don't stand a chance against Jake Paul, they're like, this shouldn't even, like, because he's too old. I was like, I think you're crazy.
Mayweather's head snapped back and he went down, not stumbling, down. The sound of that punch echoed like thunder. The crowd froze for a heartbeat, everyone in shock. Then, chaos. The entire arena erupted. Tyson stood in the center of the ring, breathing hard, eyes wide, like he couldn't believe it either. The referee began counting. Mayweather tried to rise, wobbled, and the ref waved it off. It was over. Mike Tyson wins by knockout in round 8. The place went absolutely insane. People crying, screaming, hugging strangers. It didn't even matter that it was an exhibition. This was history. 2 eras collided, and somehow, Tyson, the man everyone thought was done decades ago, reminded the world why he's still called the baddest man on the planet. That punch didn't just end the fight, it ended every doubt that legacy fades with age. Because on that night, in that ring, Mike Tyson didn't just win, he rewound time.
Deji. But since then, no one's watched Floyd's exhibitions. He's been just, I guess, stealing the bag.
When that knockout landed, the world just froze. For a second, nobody moved. No cheers, no sound, not even a breath. It was like the universe had to process what just happened. Mike Tyson had just knocked out Floyd Mayweather. Then suddenly, it hit. The silence exploded into chaos. The crowd lost its mind. Strangers were hugging, people were crying, and even the commentators were shouting over each other, trying to find words that didn't exist. The T-Mobile Arena literally shook, like history itself had decided to stand up and clap.
Friend Mike Tyson tweeted that he almost died over the summer. He said, he had a bunch of blood transfusions, just had to fight to get healthy, and then his performance yesterday against Jake Paul. Just your thoughts on what we saw.
Mike Tyson was right, and I was wrong.
Tyson stood there for a moment, chest heaving, eyes wide, as if he couldn't believe it himself. Then he dropped to his knees. No arrogance, no showmanship, just pure emotion. You could see it written all over his face. This wasn't about proving people wrong, it was about proving something to himself. He said later, almost whispering, "I'm alive again." That one line hit harder than any punch, because that's what it felt like, a resurrection.
Deji. But since then, no one's watched Floyd's exhibitions. He's been just, I guess, stealing the bag.
Across the ring, Mayweather got up. A little dazed, sure, but still calm. The man who'd built his empire on perfection and untouchability did something no one expected. He smiled. He walked over, hugged Tyson, and said, "You're still the baddest man on earth." That moment alone broke the internet. 2 of the biggest egos in sports history, standing there, no trash talk, no bitterness, just respect. And then came the digital earthquake. Within minutes, clips of the knockout flooded every corner of the internet. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, total meltdown. Memes, reactions, compilations, slow motion edits, you name it, it was out there. The knockout clip hit 100 million views in just a few hours, smashing every record in combat sports history. Everyone had an opinion. Some called it the greatest ending ever. Others swore it had to be staged, but nobody could stop watching it. By the next morning, every major network was replaying that uppercut like it was the Zapruder film of boxing. ESPN, CNN, BBC, all running special segments. Sports bars in Tokyo, London, Karachi, and New York all showing the same replay. That single punch that united the world for a moment. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It had turned into a global memory.
Everybody in the world is going to want to watch this, or 10,000 people will watch it.
And then came the money talk. Because, of course, it did. The numbers were absurd. Over 155 million people had watched it live across streaming platforms and pay-per-view. The highest in history. Revenue? Over $800 million in a single night. That's right. An exhibition fight between two retired legends just out-earned most professional title matches combined. Tyson walked away with a jaw-dropping $150 million, while Mayweather, ever the businessman, pulled in over $200 million once sponsorships and bonuses were tallied. Even the much-hyped Jake Paul vs. Tyson fight from 2024 looked like a charity event in comparison. Analysts called it the business of legend. The fight wasn't just a sporting event, it was a marketing masterpiece. Nostalgia met new age streaming tech, and the result was pure financial mayhem. Boxing insiders said this fight had rewritten the rulebook, proving that the biggest money isn't in youth or titles anymore, it's in legacy. One promoter put it best: people don't pay to see the best fighter, they pay to see the most unforgettable one.
Actually knew that Mike had nothing left 20 years ago, let alone now at 58, 59. It wasn't going to be competitive.
But let's be honest, it wasn't just about numbers. The reactions after the fight were wild. Experts, fans, even retired champions couldn't agree on what they'd just witnessed. Some called it poetic, others called it insane. George Foreman, yes, the George Foreman, tweeted, "Tyson just proved age is a number, not a limit." That tweet alone got millions of likes. It summed up exactly what the world was feeling: shock, admiration, disbelief, and maybe a little bit of fear.
Ridiculous. 200 pounds, 140. Floyd Mayweather was fighting at 154.
Promoters were calling it the boxing renaissance. Suddenly, the conversation shifted. Legacy fights, exhibitions, dream matchups that once seemed impossible. Now everyone wanted in. The sport had found a new formula. Give fans their nostalgia, but deliver it with modern spectacle. Even medical experts chimed in. They praised both fighters for their conditioning. Tyson, 59, and Mayweather, 48, going 8 rounds at that intensity without collapsing. No serious injuries, no medical scares, just pure athletic madness. They said it was anatomically improbable, which is scientific language for we have no idea how they did that. Meanwhile, fans online were at war. Half were shouting that the fight was legit, that Tyson had finally broken through Mayweather's legendary defense. The other half swore it was scripted, some kind of Hollywood finish. But when reporters asked Tyson about it during the post-fight press conference, he laughed. That low, iconic, slightly terrifying laugh. Then he leaned into the mic and said, "Does it matter? He went down." That one sentence went viral instantly. It was classic Tyson. Simple, brutal, and absolutely true.
But Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather are going to fight an exhibition.
By the end of the week, sports journalists were calling the fight the perfect storm. It had everything: tension, drama, emotion, nostalgia, and a knockout that'll live forever. And somehow, it left everyone, even Mayweather fans, feeling weirdly satisfied. Because deep down, everyone knew they had just witnessed something that would never happen again. So in the end, what was it? A fight? A spectacle? A once-in-a-lifetime collision of ego, time, and human willpower? Probably all of that and more. But one thing's certain. When Mike Tyson dropped Floyd Mayweather that night, the world didn't just see a knockout. It saw history punching back. Tyson's post-fight speech hit harder than any uppercut that night. He stood there in the center of the ring, sweat dripping, gloves half off, voice trembling but fierce. and said the line that'll live forever. I've been feared, I've been forgotten, and tonight I remembered who I am. The crowd didn't just cheer, they felt it. This wasn't a comeback speech, it was a confession. You could hear decades of pain, glory, and redemption in his voice. It was Mike Tyson finally making peace with his own legend. And right beside him, Mayweather, the man known for his ego, his perfection, his impossible confidence, did something nobody saw coming. He grabbed the mic, smiled, and said, "This isn't a loss. This is what greatness looks like. Respect to Iron Mike." Just like that, the air changed. The crowd, which had been roaring for Tyson, turned their respect toward Floyd. Because let's be honest, that kind of humility, from him of all people, was a knockout on its own. It was raw, human, and surprisingly touching.
Right? We heard Roy Jones say, at the end of the day, it was Mike.
Tyson, emotional but grounded, dedicated the win to every fighter who refused to be erased by time. He said, "This is for every warrior who thought their best days were behind them." And that line, that one line, lit up social media like wildfire. Fans called it the fight that healed boxing's soul. For one night, boxing wasn't about belts, promoters, or contracts. It was about two men, one rediscovering his fire, the other showing grace in defeat, proving that legacy doesn't fade. It just waits for the right moment to rise again.
So when he started going crazy, I'm like, yo, that's Mike. I gotta be careful.
And that's exactly why historians, even days later, started calling it the night boxing rewrote its ending. Tyson didn't reclaim a title. He reclaimed his crown, not as a champion of the ring, but as a symbol of endurance, of what it means to fight beyond the physical. He became living proof that time might slow you down, but it can't erase who you were born to be. Mayweather, meanwhile, remained undefeated on paper, but that night humbled him in myth. The man who built his brand on perfection became human again, and ironically, that made people love him even more. He showed the side fans had never seen, not the money, not the swagger, just the man. And the numbers sealed the story, the most watched sporting event of the decade. Think about that. Two retired legends with a combined age of 107 drew more eyes than the Olympics, Super Bowl, or World Cup final. It wasn't supposed to happen, and yet it did. Decades from now, people won't argue about who won. That part's already written. Instead, they'll ask the only question that matters. Where were you when Tyson dropped Mayweather? Because moments like that aren't just fights, they're timestamps in history. So yeah, that wasn't just the final bell of the fight, that was the sound of history ringing. And it still hasn't stopped. If you felt that, hit subscribe. Because moments like this don't just happen. They explode, and we'll be right here when the next one does.